We have some issues of the day that we need to talk about, specifically the plagiarism scandal. So before I go into it, do you have any brief thoughts on it, the Claudine Gay and DEI plagiarism scandals?
Well, I think it ultimately all comes back to the same thing, which is higher education, maybe general intellectual life as a whole, has always been political, right? So you say that this art's political, or that writing, that guy's book is political. Fine, it's always been political in some sense. You can have standards of logic or evidence and stuff, but saying that someone's political. But I think what happened, which people only now realize really, is some of these fields, if not all of them, especially the studies fields, stopped being political. Political meaning a situation where people can have different points of view, even though they take points of view.
Right.
And they became totalitarian.
Correct.
Which means there is no possibility of having more than one point of view. And once a field becomes totalitarian, i.e. once it loses the debate that marks a political situation, thinking itself becomes degraded. Because why would you try and think different thoughts? Your whole job is to find a script and to follow it. And the logical conclusion of that is to actually start to recite it.
Right.
To repeat it.
Like Marxist ideological training.
To plagiarize it.
Right.
But it's not plagiarism, because as a good party member, you're repeating the mantras of the master. You are citing the key phrases. You are showing how history all can be understood through this master narrative, which in the case of the DEI or the Black Studies people is the oppression of Black people and structural racism. We know that. So in some ways, people having this kind of neo-Victorian response, oh dear, plagiarism,
right,
is silly, because of course she plagiarizes. Because plagiarism is all about a totalitarian mindset of following the master and repeating the mantras and adhering to the principles.
That's so
interesting. And we should have known all along that these DEI diversity recruits and appointments were going to be full of plagiarism, because in a communist or a totalitarian mindset, that's not called plagiarism. It's called towing the line.
That's so interesting. I never thought about it from that perspective before. So by the time we release this, and I'm confident that I can say this now, we have found many people who have plagiarized at the highest levels. So that doesn't surprise you.
Of course you have. And it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. And
once we start running these papers they've submitted and published through the fact checker or the plagiarizer or the AI enhanced plagiarism detector, we're going to see, just as if I had taken a bunch of papers from Marxists in China and run them through the plagiarism checker, of course I'd find all they do is plagiarize their mentors, their party leaders, the great speeches, right? Yeah. Because that's what totalitarianism does, is it creates a script, and you're expected to memorize it and repeat it. It's not called plagiarism. And so to say a charge of plagiarism against someone like Claudine Gay is rather like charging a party member in the Soviet Union of quoting Marx. Of course I quoted Marx. I did it as much as possible. Yeah. It's not plagiarism. I just learned the lingo and the phrases. Okay,
so let me ask you a question, because I sincerely cannot for the life of me figure it out. Maybe you can help me figure this out. Okay, so she kept her salary of $900,000 a year, and it's a private institution. They do take federal funding though. But it's a private institution. You can do anything you want as a private institution. If you want to double her salary, that's your business. It's none of my concern. But she's now faculty. So
she's back in her faculty.
She's back in her faculty. She's been removed from the administration. So you need to please help me understand two things. And I'm very sincere when I say this. Why isn't she kicked out of the university? But even more so, when your paper came out in Third World Quarterly, there was a petition I remember that went around saying that they wanted your PhD
revoked.
They wanted your PhD for an article that you made an argument for a position. Like, and people are of course free to disagree. That's the whole structure that we've said. That's the coin of the realm: disagreement, publishing, and that's great, fine, wonderful, fantastic. But they wanted your PhD from that. But this woman is a serial plagiarist. We know that for a fact. So please help me explain One, why she is still faculty, and two, why is her PhD not revoked?
Because she's part of the people. The people, the communists, used to call those who towed the party line and were good members of society or the party the people, i.e. they're on the inside. And even though reactionary forces may take them down, they're still part of the people. So of course they're kid. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they promote her in the Department of African Studies, because she's done exactly what she should do. She's used her color to seize power. She's then used her power to promote the totalitarian ideology of DEI. And then when she's been found to have copied and repeated and propagated the ideology of the masters and ousted by reactionary forces, she has gone down saying, I'm a victim of racism. So not only is she back in place, she should be given a raise. She should be promoted. She is the most loyal party cadre to the cause of DEI and wokeness that Harvard has ever seen. So you know, the surprise to me is they haven't yet announced a salary raise or an endowed chair for her in African studies, because she is the model of the good party hack. Now, I'm exactly the opposite, right? I'm the white Russian. I'm the white Russian.
Right.
I am the reactionary. I'm outside of the people. So when I do something that causes controversy, which isn't actually plagiarism or calling for genocide, but just publishing an article, of course, the reaction to me is, well, that's the gulag for him. You know, revoke his PhD, cancel his article. If he shows up at any conferences, this was Hamad Dabishi at Columbia University, we should attack him, we should mob him, we should silence him, we should snub him.
Because that's all they have.
Then we get my faculty union at Portland State saying I should be stripped of academic freedom and stripped of my faculty position because my research is outside of the totalitarian ideology of anti-colonialism, right?
Thank you for watching. Everything we do is under the umbrella of the National Progress Alliance, nationalprogressalliance.org. It's a nonprofit, independent 501c3. Your generous donations keep us going and keep fueling content like this. So please help us out. Make a donation. We very much appreciate it. Thank you.